This video is all about the many form factors that NeoPixels come in so that you can make your project a reality. We'll do a pretty deep dive into NeoPixels in this video. What to use, how to connect them, how to make them work for your project. So let's get started. NeoPixels are a brand name of WS2812B or similar LEDs that come in many sizes and form factors to fit into a variety of projects. Later in the video, I'll show you about a dozen of my favorite types ranging from typical to fancy. But before I dive into show and tell, let me go over some common NeoPixel properties that apply to all types. Every NeoPixel strip or product requires 3 wire connections to a microcontroller: ground, power, and data in and out. Most products have these connection points labeled, or at least color-coded. We've been using microbit as our microcontroller so far in this series, but since you can drive NeoPixels with many brands of microcontrollers, I'll use the more universal term microcontroller for the rest of this video. And that's just because this information about NeoPixels is relevant no matter what microcontroller you're using. Okay, so let's talk about the arrow. If you look closely at most NeoPixel strips, you'll find some sort of arrow on the strip. The arrow indicates the direction the data flows in. This is important when you're designing your own project because a strip that's installed backwards won't work. It won't even turn on. So the direction needs to be correct. The arrow does sometimes confuse me though, so when I'm connecting strips, I think about how the pixels are addressed. In my video about designing NeoPixel animations, we talked about each pixel having its own address, with the pixel closest to the microcontroller being 0, then the next pixel having the address of 1, and so on and so forth for however many pixels you have. Think of the arrow as pointing in the direction that you're going when you're counting. So if you have the microcontroller on the left, the arrow should be pointing to the right, away from the microcontroller. And speaking of addressing, one great feature of the NeoPixel is that you can create twin strips by connecting 2 or more strips to the microcontroller at the same pin. So since both of these pixels are connected to the microcontroller directly, they both have an address of 0. Then 1, and so on. So now we have 2 strips that do exactly the same thing without even changing our code. This is especially helpful when adding lights to both sides of your bicycle. You can connect 2 strips, 1 for each side, and spectators on either side of your bike will see your light show. You could design your project so that you only need to use off-the-shelf strip connectors, but in most cases, a custom NeoPixel project will require some soldering. So here are some tips for soldering NeoPixels. Soldering lets you customize your project to be able to place your microcontroller and your pixels exactly where you want them. So you can add your own connectors to any strip, and you can create wire extensions that add space between pixels. This is a great way to make the strip continue around corners, like when tracing a strip around a bike frame. Let's start with the most common scenario. You need to solder a new connector to a NeoPixel strip. NeoPixel strips have 3 copper pads, 1 for power, 1 for ground, and 1 for data. Many strips will specify data out and data in to remind you which direction the data is flowing in addition to the arrow. The pads typically exist between each pixel and can be cut right down the middle to use the pad as both an in and an out. You can also trim after the pad and before the next one to give yourself more room to solder across that whole pad, but you'll lose 1 pixel in the process. I do recommend doing this though, if you're new to soldering especially. There's more to be said about setting up your soldering if you've never done it before, but I thought I'd share an overview and some tips in this video. Let me know your questions and if you'd like to see a whole video about soldering too. Okay, let's do it. So the easiest way to solder the wires to the pads is to apply a small amount of solder to each pad first by touching the iron's tip to the pad, then touching the solder to both the tip and the pad. So you should end up with a small amount of solder on each pad like this. Then do the same to the wires. Add a small amount of solder to the ends. This is called tinning the wires. Finally, clamp or tape the wire in place so that the soldered pad touches the wire tip, and touch the soldering iron to that spot to melt the 2 together. You know you have a good connection when you see the solder turn into a shiny blob and then suddenly look matte. That means it's melted thoroughly and then cooled in place. Perfect. I can repeat this process to connect wires between two pixels as well. Look for 3-wire cables to make your own connections that fit the length needed for your project. Another great idea is to use alligator clips to create your own easy clippable connector just like the example project. The wires are connected, but the connections are still fragile. I'll go over ways to keep them safe in the weatherproofing and durability video, so be sure to check that out as you're planning your project. Speaking of custom projects, let's look at more NeoPixel form factors. The strip that we use for the helmet project is a 30 LED per meter strip that has, you guessed it, 30 LEDs spread across a meter. There are also other common pixel densities available. This is a 60 LED per meter strip, and this is a 144 LED per meter strip. You may think more pixels is better, and sometimes it is, but remember that denser pixels cost a lot more to cover the same distance, and lighting up more pixels can drain the battery faster too. When shopping for NeoPixel strips, you can typically find black strips like this, or white strips like this. In general, it's best to use white when your project base is white or very lightly colored, and otherwise use black so that the strip itself isn't visible, especially in low light. Another variation that you'll come across are RGBW strips. These strips have an additional color in each pixel, white. The RGB strips we've been working with are actually made up of 3 LEDs in each pixel, and each is turned on to a varying amount of brightness to mix all of the colors of the rainbow. But even though turning on all 3 should mix to white, it's not like a very elegant white. So for applications where the temperature of white matters, RGBW strips come to the rescue. To use these LEDs, just select the RGBW format when setting up your NeoPixel strip block. However, these strips can use up more power, so if your main focus is creating colorful animations, just stick with the RGB strips. There are also several waterproofing options for NeoPixel strips. This is what a strip looks like with no waterproofing, and this one comes with a waterproof sleeve. It's basically the same thing, just with the sleeve over it, and you could remove the sleeve if you want to. The other waterproofing option features this layer of gel over the pixels. This is my favorite type because I think the pixels just look clearer inside the covering. However, you can't easily remove it, so you have to do some careful cutting to expose the copper pads before soldering to them. Let's take a look at these strips in action. The 30 pixel per meter strip that we've been using so far is also what I used to cover my bike, the project that started it all. And in my Bike JC workshops, we used 60 pixel per meter strips. You can see the difference here. Here, they're used as a wearable for this space jacket that Becky made. A jacket like this would look great to wear for a light-up bike ride. Notice how she broke up the strip to redirect it into this futuristic shape. And check out this project from Bright Bikes that inserted the 60 pixel per meter strips into corrugated plastic to make a video display on the side of their bike. Or check out this configuration. Using the ultra-dense 144 pixel per meter NeoPixels, Allie made this mesmerizing necklace. This is a great example of how connecting multiple strips together gives you the freedom to design your own LED arrangement. There are also a few specialty strip types that offer specific solutions, like this extra skinny strip with small NeoPixel lights. Add these into small projects where every millimeter matters, like in this bracelet that Debra made with so many little pixels in there. Or check out this side light variety that mounts the pixels facing sideways. This lets you bend the strip and let the light shine out of the edge. These are great for tucking the light into small spaces, like this other example from Debra who shined them through some etched acrylic. And one of my favorite specialty NeoPixel strips are the neon lookalike strips. They're basically a strip inside a silicone cover that gives the look of a neon sign. So you can literally make your own neon sign, like this DIY one by Charlyn. Or make any project just look like it's made from neon, like I did with my LED Mickey ears project. which I think would be super fun on a bike helmet too. Or you could just make the whole bike look like it's neon, like this other build from Bright Bikes. The next category of NeoPixels is what I like to call circuit board pixels. These are a group of pixels that are arranged on a circuit board instead of a long strip. They come in rings, jewels, individual pixels, and more. Check out this little 8-pixel NeoPixel stick. The pixels are arranged close together on this circuit board and have similar in and out pins on the back. These boards are perfect to tuck a tiny little LED animation into a very small space, like this eye-catching project from Xyla, who placed them under her stilettos. But what happens when you want to cover a large area with pixels? Pixel matrices are the answer. These are pixels arranged on a circuit board in a grid. They come in all shapes and sizes, usually in rectangles with each side being a multiple of 8. I used this 8x8 matrix to make an animation that syncs with music, and 2 8x32 flexible circuit board matrices to create this LED birthday cake. And the last type of NeoPixel that I want to show you are strings. Strings have a few major advantages. Because there's a wire between each pixel, you can place individual pixels as close or as far away as you'd like, and even orient them to shine in whatever direction you'd like. Check out this mermaid-inspired hairpiece that Becky made, where she placed the pixels strategically throughout the hairpiece, making a much more organic and pleasing design than you could do with a strip. And before I wrap up, I should also mention that there are LED strips other than NeoPixels. For example, there are strips that only light up to be one color, like these white LEDs that make great closet or task lighting. And there are also strips called RGB strips that can be any color of the rainbow, but all of the LEDs are the same color at the same time. Even though you can't individually address the pixels, they can still make some pretty impressive projects, like Doug's color changing bike. Mesmerizing, isn't it? And there's another variety of addressable LEDs that you might come across called dot stars. These LEDs have an additional connection that makes their timing extremely accurate, so they can be used to create persistence of vision displays. This is a more advanced project, but I wanted to share to show you how far you can go. So as you can see, there are so many NeoPixel form factors to choose from. There's even more than I just shared, and that was a lot. You might even be feeling a bit overwhelmed right now. You might be feeling like you have to try all of the things. So let me offer you this. Think about your project idea that you have. Now choose 2 things, a NeoPixel type and a connection type. So what type of NeoPixel product will work the best for your vision, and what type of connection should it have to the microcontroller and between strips if you're planning to break up the strip? So that's it. Those are your next steps. So have some fun brainstorming project ideas, being inspired by the creations of others online, and choosing your own project components. Wasn't that awesome? Thank you so much to all of the makers who sent me footage of their projects. You guys are amazing, and if you're inspired, please go follow those makers as well. Now the next video will be all about weatherproofing and durability so that you can make your project as cool as theirs and still work after your bike ride. So I'll see you there. The best thing that you can do when you create something new is to share it. Shoot a video of your creation and post it to inspire others.